All right, now we've got everything actually set up. 40 some of the, yeah, it's great. I do have the fleet up under my main if you want to get in so you can ask questions or anything like that. I'm going to start with just a quick intro, and then mostly it's going to be Q&A time as we usually do these. I mean, obviously Delta Flux is here, so a GSOL kind of focus for today. We did one of these with Casimir doing a finance one. I roped Zintage in. We did a fitting one. Shingli was here. We did a CD one. And so I said, let's do a GSOL one. So what is GSOL? So this is the Goon Swarm Offensive Logistics. Mostly you guys will know them as the people who fuel jump bridges, make sure that when we put a structure down that you can actually dock at it, right? The ACLs are set correctly, that the modules are on it, right? So if we're putting down something, it's got a clone bay or it's got a manufacturing thing, the research stuff. They're also the ones who do the market, right? Actually putting the market in there. They set up all the ACLs to allow you to do all of the things that we just talked about for it, uh, which is funny because whenever it comes up for me as chief of staff, it's like, hey, we need you to adjust this ACL. I'm like, talk to Delta. You don't want me fucking with ACLs. It's usually going to end badly. Um, and Delta noticed something. We were so hoping we could do this today because Delta noticed a very interesting temporal coincidence for today that I promise you guys won't believe me, but I promise you we did not plan uh, because we are just not that good. Uh, so I'm gonna let Delta tell you a little bit about himself and kind of how he got into Eve and then how he got into GSOL, but he's going to lead off with some uh, data porn for you all on what is special about today. There's an anniversary today, so Delta, please take it away.
All right. Well, hi, folks. I've been playing Eve for about 15 years now. A little, almost 16. It's a little scary, but it's true. And I've been the head of GSOL now for 1 year. I've been a part of GSOL as a director or a subdirector or a line member for quite a few years prior to that. But all kinds of fun stuff. Ranger touched good base on a lot of what things can happen. I'll hop right into what he was hinting there. I happen to keep a tiny little journal personally that is a 5-year stacked journal. So every day has like a little paragraph. You can just jot down what you did for the day. I'm not a big writer, but I can usually do 2 sentences. And last year, today, which would have been a Saturday, 365 days ago, is the day that we held the State of the Union, and we announced that we were leaving 1DQ1, leaving Delve. It was exactly a year ago. Feels far longer, but 1 year ago today.
It's dead, Jim.
That wasn't just me, though.
No, the whole thing just fucking gave up.
Yeah, it just reset there, guys. Everybody's coming back in, so.
All
Sorry,
right.
I'm not sure you're back in here yet, but
So,
that was good.
yeah, I've lost the ability to join the command channel now, so I'm down here with you guys.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, let me go up
It
to
doesn't
hop up to
matter.
the drag me channel there.
I can just do it from here. It's no big deal, unless you need to
Yeah, it
leave
does
for
for the
some reason.
recording.
Oh, okay.
Just because of the way that works.
I like an episode of Top Gear. Could be worse.
Hi.
Welcome back.
So I don't think you're in the. Oh, you are in the fleet though. For those of you who are not in the fleet, um, right as Delta was saying, hey, it's been a year for it, right? And then Mumbo crashed.
Yep.
Serum said one of the best things in Fleet, and it says, and he said, even Mumble has trauma from the moves.
That's a
Serum, that was
good
good,
friend.
man. That was good.
That is good.
Um,
Speaking of, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, Dragon. What's up, man?
I was going to say, speaking of Mumble, before this update, it has been very unstable to say the least. Any particular reason why on that?
As Asher mentioned yesterday during the fireside, one of the big issues that we ran into is that our hosting infrastructure was just too old, too small, too slow, whatever two words you want to put on there. And that was a big impetus to doing the switch over this weekend. And we've actually been doing it for a couple of weeks of migrating back end pieces. This weekend has been the first, like, really forward piece that you guys have been able to see, but we've been doing it for a couple of weeks. And so the hope, the theory, the prayer, whatever you want to say, is that those issues will not be occurring in the future as we get the migration done. Today, notwithstanding, IT issues, blah, blah, blah.
We still need to do a big chain with everyone on logged in.
Oh golly.
Uh, yeah, I mean that also is a thing for victory. Um, and then there's Zul. All right, Zul, I like it. Two really good bangers in Fleet Chat today. Never play on patch day. You are absolutely correct.
That used to be much more of a thing.
Yeah. CCP patch day. It's always Tuesday. Um, was notorious when Delta and I, because we come from basically the same beginning era, 2008, 2009, 2010, that kind of an era with it. And patch day on Tuesday, nope. What you would do is Saturday night, you'd put in like Capital Ship 5, and because you weren't playing Eve that week, it just was not going to work for a couple of days. But we cut you off there, Delta. So
Sure.
you started in, again, about the same era that I did, the 08, 09,
Yeah, it
2010
was the
kind of.
very beginning of 2010 for me. It was like January of 2010 was my first character,
Okay.
and
So take us, do a little brief history for yourself. So you started in 2010. Like, when did you get into Goons? How did you
sure.
get into GSOL? Um, why were you stupid enough to accept the head director position? Talk us through this sequence here.
Some of it's OPSEC because I can't admit how much of a pushover I am. So, no. So I started in 2010. I got into wormholes really quick, and then I got stuck there for about 5 years or so. And I came out for a breath of fresh air and ended up in, amusingly enough, Space Monkeys Alliance. Those of you who do not know, Space Monkeys at that time was one of the members of the Imperium and the members of Goonswarm Federation. Not a member of Goonswarm Federation. Goonswarm Federation leads the Imperium. Might have been called the CFC then. I'm actually
It was called the
not
CFC back
positive.
then.
Okay,
Well,
it was still
when
this
when were you in SMA?
20. Hang on. I'm logged in and I can click on my own corp and go back to see when it was because you're making me think back. So, yeah, it was 2015, mid 2015 through 2016.
That's right when we were switching over. So the CFC was founded during the IT war, and then that changeover was right about then. I don't remember the exact time, but yeah. So let's just say you joined in the CFC, and then it was transitioning to the Imperium because why not?
Sure. So within a year of me joining the corp that I am now CEO of, Echelon Research, we were in Space Monkeys, and then the Casino War happened, which has other names as well, but I believe we all know it as the Casino War, which Space Monkeys had quite a part to play in that I didn't learn about until later, but we won't go into some of that fan fiction.
It's
Not
crazy.
fiction,
That
though,
story is
but
just all kinds of messed up.
yeah, you can get it. You probably know that a lot better than I do, Ranger. But so
I
if you want
I
to get into
do,
that later,
yeah.
you can.
I,
But
I actually did a history. One of the very first histories that I did actually has a whole section about it. So, um,
nice. So anyway, so that happened. The and Goons ended up folding down into Saranin. Saranin? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, it was
I
Saturday.
feel like okay. I feel like I was missing a syllable. So
Well,
into
it's because
Saranin,
Asher
and
puts like 5 ins on the Saturday because he doesn't know how
that's
to pronounce it.
that's exactly what I was thinking of, probably. Um, Space Monkeys then pieced out and left the Imperium, thinking they could strike off better themselves. They failed just within the last year or so. I believe they actually fully disbanded, although they've been a dead alliance for many years at this point. But Echelon Research, the Corp admin, left for the Volition Cult, which lived in Catch at the time. And then we realized that that was absolutely terrible existence. The Provi block at the time, and not purple, or I'm sorry, not not red. Don't shoot. There we go. NRDS. They had this whole NRDS thing going on, which is so weird, especially to us who are used to, if you're not blue, shoot it. So anyway, we left there again and came to Goon Swarm proper 2016. So we've been there not quite a year, 9 years almost exactly, and we've been a part of Goons again. So I joined Recon a couple of years into that, ended up becoming director of Recon, ended up leading Recon, and then shifted into GSOL as much as I love Recon, and Recon is an amazing part of the military. I've always been a logistics person. I'm give me all the stuff, give me all the buttons, and we will make this work. So that's a lot of what GSOL has been through my time in Eve, in my time in Goon Swarm. Under Tuzzy, I believe, was GSOL director when I first joined GSOL in any official capacity, and then from Tuzzy came Billy Bob Bunnigans, and from Billy went to Sopleb, and then about a month before the big move, it got passed to me. And I won't yell too much at Sopleb because he might hear this recording, but he might have pieced out at that point, switching into an IT role, which he does a very good job at for many of the things. Glitches are always a thing for IT, so yes, there will be IT glitches, and he and Boris and others are dealing with them. But yeah, so I pretty much took over GSOL a month before the big move, and then we moved, and then we moved again. So I was telling Ranger, if it hadn't been for the second move, we might have been done moving by now. But unfortunately, we've moved again. So we're still figuring out things and having fun. And of course, CCP changed jump bridges, so they can't be on gates, and so have to redo all that infrastructure. Anyway, it's been quite a ride and a lot of fun. I did see one question I will quickly answer from Axel from a while back. He was asking about GSOL applications, and so I'll quickly tell you how GSOL recruits. GSOL recruits a couple of different ways, but in August we did a open recruiting for GSOL, where we actually opened applications, and for a full month, the month of August, we hoovered up about 150 applications, I believe, and we've been going through them for the next month. We've hired our first batch, but we still have a couple of batches to go. And then we will be sending out a message to everyone who didn't make it this round. It doesn't mean that your application wasn't good enough or something. It's just the reality. There are a lot of people who want to do GSOL, and there's only so many tasks that GSOL has. We have a lot of tasks, don't get me wrong. That's why we're hiring. But we also don't want to spread out the work so much that people don't feel like they have anything to do. So we try to keep that balance. It is not an easy balance because sometimes, like yesterday, well, not yesterday, yesterday was Saturday, Friday, when the locust moons all pop, GSOL runs around like chickens with their head cut off and hops in control of every single Athanor and refracts it and gets it all reset for the next locust frac 56 days from then. So every once in a while, there are suddenly 120 things to do at once. And then there's not 120 things to do at once on the next hour. So it is an interesting world as it just goes real fast sometimes, and then also you get a break other times. So, but many hands make light work. So we try to spread out the work and make sure that any one person is stuck doing everything. Any other angles you want me to go here, Ranger, or should I
Um,
start looking at some of these chat things?
that's usually kind of how we do it. But there's one thing I want to point out there is that when you guys are looking at the infrastructure that you see, if it's in DJs or it's in the Logic Corp, that's GSOL doing that. So all the things that are in either DJs or Logic Corp, that's all under GSOL's purview. Um,
And yeah, somebody asked, are we are the alliance infrastructure for the Goon Swarm Federation Alliance. So while we also handle a lot of the broader Imperium policies and such, we are a Goon Swarm Federation only member. In the sense that you have to be a member of a member corp in Goon Swarm. We do not take anybody from TNT or Shadow or Sigma or any of them because they all have their own infrastructure corps, and we don't want to steal from you guys or from other alliances that need to have their own infrastructure folks. Now, Recon, on the other hand, Recon is a Imperium-wide deal, so there are people in all alliances in the Recon group. Maybe not all, but
yeah, I think there's like 3/4 of them. Recon's one that's an interesting group that we don't talk a whole lot about how you get into that. It's a fairly tight knit and closely guarded kind of secret as to how they do their recruiting thing. Like GSOL openly advertises, CD openly advertises, and they do all those kind of things. Um, but Recon not so much. So I will say, as Delta went through his whole history there, I first met Delta when I joined the Recon group because he was the director of Recon at the time. So that's how I met him uh, all those years ago. Was it been 7 years, 8 years ago, something like that? Somewhere around
something
there.
like that, yeah.
Here's a good question for you, Delta. How many members are in GSOL? What is the size of your org right now? I actually don't even know.
It's like maybe 20 or 30. And you're gonna make me actually have to look it up to be 100% sure. But it's right around there. It's 30 or so folks who we're bringing on quite a chunk right now with the expectation that we will burn people out because GSOL is an excellent org at burning people out. We don't do it on purpose. We in fact try not to do it. But any space job that doesn't, how do I put this? Actually, I think I can say more generally. I think I can say almost any space job has a high burnout rate just because because this is a game and people have a hard time sometimes doing work when they're playing a game, especially a game they're paying for. So it's a special type of person who has that willingness to come home from work or log off their work computer if they work from home or whatever they do, and then hop in and start another job at times. And that's part of why you want to spread it out, make sure that there's no any one person who feels like they're having to do everything. And so we work on that, and we fail sometimes because people have real lives, and of course, I want to make sure that all of my members of GSOL, just as with members of my corp, they will need to prioritize their home, their family, their own health, their jobs at times over playing Eve, because you can totally let Eve run your life, and so finding that balance is always difficult. But at the same time, for those of us who are crazy enough to be doing jobs for years and years on end in space jobs, it is hilariously fulfilling at the same time. You do get a lot of satisfaction from pulling off major things like the move from 1 to Q. We had 600 or 700 freighters full of trillions of ISK that we moved across a regional gate, and then
That's a
and then
crazy thing to
so on and so forth.
yeah, point out that for those numbers that Delta's just telling you guys, remember that he had been head of GSOL like a month, 2 months, like when we did that move um, out of 1DQ. It was one of the first tasks I remember when he was elevated to head director. And then he joined the command team, and we're like, okay, we're leaving 1DQ, and he's like, what?
I had about an extra month's warning from becoming the head of GSOLs to knowing that we were moving, but that's about it. And at the time, I didn't know I was going to be the one organizing it. And I do have to throw a massive. He's not here right now, I'm assuming, but most of those freighters, I think all of them, pretty much, were built by Kunmi, and Kunmi just he made that happen. We could have done it. It would have been a ton of back and forth with existing freighters, so on and so forth. But suddenly having I think he made 1,000 freighters or something like that.
It wasn't quite that many, but it was a lot.
It was close, man. It was if it wasn't 1,000, it was like 900. I mean, it was a lot of freighters.
He made a lot.
And then he turned them all into jump freighters and sold them because he's crazy, and somehow he managed to do that.
And I will do this one with Delta because it entertained me to no end at the time. So I was loading up freighters, moving procurement stuff out of 1DQ. Delta's loading up freighters with GSOL stuff. Like we're doing avalanches as well, getting all those kinds of things for it. And he and I are sitting in a channel, and we're just talking, and I was like, Delta, you know that the op's going to be in like an hour, right? He's like, why am I talking to you then? Because I have freighters to load.
I spent that the announcement was at 2:00 my time because I'm Eastern U.S. The announcement for we're leaving, and I believe I sat down at 9 a.m. and I spent the next 5 hours loading freighters. People ended up with empty freighters because I so much click and drag failure and or just eyes getting crossed, and of course I was trying to audit everything, spreadsheets upon spreadsheet. If you don't like spreadsheets, you can't do GSOL, by the way. I'm putting that out there. If Google Sheets is not like the first, if you hit a new tab on whatever you use, and Google Sheets is not one of the things there, then I'm sorry, you're not going to make it in GSOL. This is not a thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely. There's a fun question for you here. I think it got buried in it. It's from Puffy. It says, does GSOL offer space 401ks with company match and insurance? That's a fun one. The answer is yes and no at the same time. I'll let Delta answer that one. That's just
Sure. So we do buy some Plex every month, and for those of you in GSOL in this channel right now, you're giving me the glare through the computer screen. I see it. Yes, we're behind. We might have moved the alliance again. So we do pay, but you're never gonna get rich. You're not even going to Plex your accounts on it. But we buy a pack of Plex and distribute it to our members based on the amount of jobs that they did. So someone who did 100 jobs gets a higher proportion than someone who does 10 jobs. So we do that. There's a couple other perks. I don't know how many I can say. I guess I can say this. GSOL, because we're constantly going through the jump bridges for GSOL work. Yeah, guess who doesn't pay for jump bridges? Yep, that's GSOL. GSOL doesn't pay for jump bridges. And nor should we. There's a couple of other groups out there that don't pay for jump bridges either, but I won't mention them because I don't want you guys to join a group just so that you can put your carrier through a jump bridge and not have to pay for it. It's not how that works.
This actually, speaking of jump bridges, there was a question that we missed earlier talking about when a jump bridge runs out of fuel, is that GSOL's fault? The answer is, again, yes and no. I mean, in theory, GSOL's responsible for making sure that they're all filled, but when one of our FCs takes a carrier armada through a jump bridge without telling GSOL, can't really blame GSOL on that one. And yes, that does actually happen.
I have been a part of the emergency jump freighters that jump onto a jump bridge with like 5 jump freighters just all chucking pure LO in while a battleship fleet sits there going, hey, we can't go through. That happened in Fake Aquarius, maybe. I think it was Delve
Yeah,
slash Fake
I think it was
Aquarius.
fake quarters, but
I definitely remember doing that, and people were cheering at the time. It was very amusing. And then of course we started bridging freighters in because it was like the fifth fleet that had gone through that bridge that day. It was something pretty crazy. But we do have an awesome program that's been written over the years. I say awesome in quotation marks, but it's how we do our job. It's called Region Commander version 2, RC2. There used to be something just called Region Commander, RC, back when I first started. And it was a very painful program at the time and did not work very well. RC2 works far better, still has bonuses and glitches that need to be fixed and such. But remember, we're all volunteers who are doing all these hauling tasks and such, and we have other heroes out there that are volunteer coders. They write code for a living, or they've taught themselves how to write code, and they spend hours upon hours putting into a program they don't even get to run in the end, right? Because it has OPSEC stuff in it and such, so it ends up all going into this black box of the Goonswarm services, and then gets to run. So those are another set of heroes that are probably not sung out as much.
okay, we've had a couple of questions here, Delta. I want to try and
Sure.
get to them. One of the kind of reoccurring one there is how do you guys determine how much fuel, right? Which, for you guys who don't know, jump bridges run on liquid ozone. That's the fuel that Delta is talking about when you go through it and it runs out. It's that fuel. They use fuel blocks too, but he's talking about liquid ozone. How
Yes.
do you guys determine how much LO to keep in a normal jump bridge, like just a regular standard jump bridge?
Sure. We have a base amount of 1 million LO in every jump bridge, but eventually we'll bump that up to probably 2 million. And then we find out major paths. So if we are doing a lot of conflicts in, say, cache, there is a primary set of jump bridges, 2 sets, some maybe 3, but 2 primary ones that go up into cache. And so we will set those to 10 million or 5 million or something like that. Sometimes I'll have the military ping me and say, "Hey, we need to make this particular path have enough for a couple of fleets." And of course, the first response is, "Would you define for me what a couple of fleets are?" Because a couple of fleets of battle cruisers versus a couple of cap fleets are massive differences in the amount of LO. So it eats the liquid ozone based on the mass of the ship. That's why the cost increases based on the mass of your ship. So if you're going through in a carrier or a dreadnought, you're near the cap limit, which is why I believe, I don't know if it's still the case, but it used to be that with one of the dreadnoughts, you actually had to offline one of the armor dreads. You had to offline a plate to fit
Yeah,
through a jump
you
bridge.
had to offline plate.
I don't know if that's still the case with the current fittings, but it definitely was the case. And yeah, the revelations. It's possible with the Zerns as well. But yeah, any armor ship has a chance because those plates add mass, and so that's how the calculation. It's something like 20 to 30,000 LO per capital that goes through. So if you have 10 capitals, no big deal. We'll just round it out. We'll top it off tomorrow. You send 300, 400, 500 capitals through, and suddenly problems happen. But we've been getting much better about communicating, and inter office communication does help us to do that. So, and then we overfill it, and the cap fleets don't even know. It's great.
So, question: there was 10 million liquid ozone in one jump bridge. Yes, for the most heavily used bridges, we'll get something like that. Regular
Yeah,
bridges,
some of them.
less.
Yeah, most of them are between 1 to 2 million, and that's per side because it depends on which side you're going through. Like that side, when you go through a jump bridge, the one you touch and hit jump is the one that loses the liquid ozone, not the other one.
So way back in the day when I first joined, what was then Deco, right, became the CFC, then was the Imperium. When you were out flying around, you'd go through your jump bridge. What a lot of people used to do is they would carry a little bit of liquid ozone in their ship, and you'd come up to the jump bridge and you would just toss a little bit of LO into it when you went through it.
Yeah.
You guys used to use
Back
that.
in the days of cynoceptors, when you were coming home from an op, quite often you had to sacrifice the LO in your scepter to get through the jump bridge. So you had to give the LO, and then you had to pay for the LO again when you went through. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was back in back in those fun little days. Okay, there was another question for you on ballpark volume of the magmatic gas and supersonic ice. And I want to add fuel blocks. Can you give us a rough idea on how much, like, just general
Mm.
fuel we go through?
So, fuel, we're looking at the hundreds of thousands of fuel blocks per month, close to the million mark, I believe, of late, per month. So we have a team of people who huff fuel all day long, and those people sell us fuel blocks at a large rate. There's just it's a small group, a small cabal that keeps us all fueled up. The reagents and stuff I don't want to get too far into because there's actually some OPSEC levels of that I don't want to accidentally give out more information than we need to. Needless to say, we are not we are able to support our infrastructure with what our space is giving us. So we are not having to go out and buy magmatic gas or superionic ice to keep a supercap builder running. So there's a number of upgrades that take those different reagents, and those are all the ones we need to keep. And CCP is still working on some glitches in that system. Every once in a while, they just go crazy and they eat everything in the bay, and we haven't yet proven why. But every once in a while, a bay will just go from full to empty, and that can be very frustrating. And that's when you guys might run into a jump bridge that's offline, not due to fuel blocks, not due to liquid ozone, but due to superionic ice in the sovereignty hub. Yeah, fun.
That's fun. So this question was asked in Fleet. I answered it there, but I just want to say it. So Jewel was asking, are these the days when you could anchor jump bridges on pauses that Delta and I were talking about, where you'd add, like, you would just put your own LO into it? Answer is yes. You could also have, at this point in time, two jump bridges in each system. They had to be on different moons, but you would have two jump bridges in each system.
I don't think I ever was playing in nullsec when that was the case. It's been
You
a
were in liminal
while since
space
that
at
was the
that point,
case.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I did interact with the jump bridges at pauses. That was still a thing because answer plexes didn't come out until the later 2017,
yeah, it
2018,
was in
something
part
like
of
that.
the it was part of the Citadel update stuff. It was after, but it was in that same kind of an era. So for those people who were not around with that, what you would do is you would have the two jump bridges in the system, and so you did not have to take a Stargate. You could, well, for the most part, you could go from just one system to another, and you just warp across the system to the outbound gate, and you would do it that way. Um,
And
there's
people
a
thought things are overpowered now. Although some of those actually caused jump fatigue, didn't they?
Not at that point. I mean,
Not at that point?
since
Okay.
then, yeah.
I know they did start adding that at one point. I think I had a year of jump fatigue because of using one of them once
Yeah,
until
so
they
jump
reduced it
fatigue.
down to a couple of days.
Yeah, so the jump fatigue came in with the Citadel update and all that kind of stuff. So that was all later after this. So the jump bridge has already been nerfed. You can only have one per system. And, then the Citadels came in, and then, all those other kind of things. So that the fatigue came in later. Just a second, I missed a question from somebody there. Oh, this is a good one. So I'm curious how the complexity of operations for GSOL compares to Dominion Sov days. The problem is that, like, I was around for Dominion Sov and was involved with it, but we were attacking things, and Delta wasn't in GSOL and running it
Mm-hmm.
for Dominion Sov. So I'll tell you my impression, and Delta can probably give you his. The Dominion Sov was much easier because it didn't have any of this fueling shit. Like you would deploy an SBU and TCUs and that's it, and you paid straight ISK to CCP. They didn't use fuel. The actual
Yeah.
fuel blocks and all that stuff, that's a much later thing that Delta has to deal with in his guys.
And now the fact that you can customize systems, but you have to work within the workforce and power that all of these systems have is a whole. It used to be that if you were willing to pay the money, you could upgrade any system to have a jump bridge. Anyway, every single system could have a jump bridge if you wanted to. You just have to pay out the wazoo for it, but you could do it. But when they switched to what's this current one called? Equinox, I think. Equinox Sov.
Yeah, Equinox.
They that all of that went out the window, and suddenly you have a whole nother set of realities as to how to build the space. And so one of our hero programmers came up with a web app that mimicked all of the Sov, so that we could actually create the Sov in the equivalent of a simulation fitting window, right? So you have simulation fitting when you're fitting your ship. You can fake fit a ship to figure out what it'll look like. That doesn't exist for the Sov system, right? That's not in the game. So you just have to use pen, paper, or spreadsheets, or you have someone come up with a web app that mimics the entire Sov situation and allows you to set it all up and try it, just so you can see, oh, well, I'm gonna have to shunt this over to there and then that over to here and da. It's absolutely crazy. We had a whole team working on it, a couple of specific heroes that helped to pull things off, and then a whole bunch of people doing implementation, because again, hundreds of systems. I want to try a quick guess. I don't think this breaks anything OPSEC-y. In Fleet Chat, I would like, oh crap, I need to log in a different character. As I'm logging in a different character, I want you guys to guess how many skyhooks we have. How many skyhooks are in the GSF logistics and posting reserves? Any GSOLers who have access to this information are forbidden from answering.
Resident, all right, you win. Your guess was 69. We're just going to say that. While you guys are thinking about that, there was a question from Pod right there. Is there a reason why our Keepstar and CJ isn't on the same grid as the Stargates?
Yes, there is.
Asked for that. So Delta is the one who deployed the Keepstar, but it was selected by the military. It has to do with the undock angles to the other gates. When we picked CJ as the system, we all sat down, and Delta was right there. He's like, all right, where do you want me to put it? Because we can't hit all of the gates like in a line if we put it anywhere. And everybody's like, shit.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw someone say another mumble restart is coming, but I see no notification of that. I see no notification of that. So if that's happening, I don't know what special world you have to know. I'm impressed, though. We're still here, right?
Yeah. We'll just keep going. I was posting Elysium.
Who uses Elysium? I'm kidding.
Oh, it's actually from Boris. Okay. So there's another mumble restart that's coming in a bit. All right. Well, we'll just
so we'll take a break when that happens. Yeah.
And when it happens, it happens. We'll just wait for you guys to come back.
So I'm just going to answer my own question from earlier. There are 3,642 skyhooks that we had to deploy in our current space, and they are about 450 million ISK each. We've had to invest a little bit in Equinox Sov, and this is the second time we've done it. There were a lot in Tenerifis and Catch and Impasse as well. So, but there was something we were saying aside from this that I now just got distracted with.
So we were just talking about the Keepstar position.
Oh yeah.
And it's there's a whole bunch of stuff that went into that.
There were two major things about that. One is our space is particularly weird on the z-axis, so you'll find that Stargates quite often are like just way up, 50 AUs off the elliptical for some strange reason, and so it makes life a little interesting. And the other thing is you'll notice that our jump bridge in CJ is on grid with the Keepstar. The reason we could do that is because you have to be 150 or 100,000 kilometers away from a Stargate to put down an Anciplex. So our decision was, well, if we back away physically from these two gates, which are almost on grid with each other, but their z-axis is far enough that if you actually put a Keepstar on grid with one of those gates, the angle pretty stinks going to any other gates. But if you back away from it, suddenly you get both of those gates in pretty much instant warp, and you get another gate not too shabby, and we get to put an Anciplex on grid with it. All of that together. All right, looks like we're about to reboot Mumble. So
Yep,
um,
we'll take a
we'll be
little
back
break
in a
there,
minute.
guys. Yeah,
Go grab a
hopefully.
drink, grab a water, a beer. I actually don't know if I finished my whistling of Jeopardy.
Um, so this question came up in Fleet, and I did type the answer there because I confidently expected that break to last a little bit longer. I did pause the recording, so if you're listening to this later, you probably heard like a 10-second gap there. But basically, the question was um, that our questioner, sure, why not, was asking that they're new to Eve and new to Goons. Catching up the Goon history, was saying that 4 months ago, everyone was saying that there was zero interest in some other, which is where CJ is. Um, is this OPSEC at work, or did the interest develop when finding the happy space to live in? So the answer is yes to both of those. It was OPSEC. We never intended to stay in UALX. We were looking around to it, and it was a stepping stone, ULX was. But what we did not anticipate is how quickly Horde would just bitch out. Um, they did, and it was we were all stunned. We're like,
Yeah, we
okay.
totally expected to fight our way into
We thought this would take months and months
Scalding
and
and
months.
Wicked and Innsmother, and they just collapsed.
Yeah, I'm not even. I don't even think they collapsed. It's just like they just poofed into nothing. Um,
Yeah, one fight, I think, one
yeah,
actual
it
fight,
was
and then not
crazy.
another one.
So we knew we were not going to stay in UALX, but we expected to stay in UALX much longer than we did. Um, Most of our time frames had it at, you know, we wanted to be gone in less than a year from UALX, and we actually ended up being there like 8 months. I think was the total between when we left Delve to when we moved into CJ. And we expected it to be about a year or so, and then we would start like the main invasion into right what is now our home here in CJ. But yeah, it happened much faster than we expected. But we just didn't tell everybody that was the plan. Um, so a little bit of
And
both.
and I will just to answer Project's thing. We're not moving again. I will quit. Casimir will quit. We will
Yeah,
all
like
join
everybody
whoever
is like
lives.
yeah.
Yeah, no. And I know like you didn't hear us saying that in UALX, which I know that's well you didn't say we were moving, but you didn't say we weren't moving. But when I mean, I can never say never because if CCP massively changes everything somehow, then in our space suddenly connects to like Fountain or something, then that's different if they like spin the whole thing around. But assuming things are even slightly normal, we are going nowhere from a moving standpoint. That's why we plugged T2 rigs back into the two Sotios in CJ6 and really, really, really plug are establishing ourselves here.
And those rigs that they'll just mention, I actually was talking to um, everybody on my last history with Alterari and Sonra were on that one with me. Those rigs were insanely expensive. We put a lot of money into those two tutorials. But before we get too distracted on the next thing, um, so the same question there, or from the same person, was the Great Migration thing. We had picked this era. Sorry, we had picked this area when we left from Delve. We knew this was the final target, but it was a stepping stone. So if you guys remember, the first stepping stone out of Delve was in UQ, Utah Q. And then the next one was ULX. to get us to where we are. So this was a stepping stone piece. Um, was it difficult letting go of space that you lived in for years? To be honest, yes, in the sense that we had fought the, we call it Vietnam, right? This is the war in 2020 and 21. A lot of the game calls it World War B2. We call it Vietnam. We had fought for that space for very nearly a year. That war lasted something like 8 or 9 months in total from start to finish. And so it was a big thing to uproot everybody, to move out of there, to do all of that kind of thing. There was a lot of hemming and hawing in the command of what do we do? And as Zool said, the big thing is that there was nobody, like the enemy was nowhere near us. Um, and right, the forever enemy is Horde, because fuck those guys. So we wanted to make it so we were much, much closer to them. And we are. We're like 2 gate jumps now. It's like a jump bridge and a Stargate, and you are in enemy territory from CJ.
Some of the other questions that have been thrown in there. Actually, to put my own thing, yes, it was crazy hard to move. I didn't miss it though. I do not miss Delve at all. The Delve was a very inhibiting space to live in. Like the just you're it's like claustrophobic for the size of an alliance that we are, and especially when you start adding in the rest of the coalition, which was trying to squeeze into pure basis and Aquarius, where it just it. So from that perspective, I don't. And I did just check one thing. Someone asked what's the difference between 1DQ and CJ. There are 77 systems within Titan range of 1DQ. There are 149 systems within Titan range of C-Tech-J. Literally twice as many systems that we can have as a tantrum radius to immediately drop our super fleet. So this space is far more dense, just spatially. It is just very, very dense, and that makes the space really, really nice. Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, Zol and such saying the last stand in the 1CQ constellation and such in 2021, back in June and July, that was a time to be playing Eve. It was so fun, hard, painful, and amazing all at the same time. GSOL and Recon worked together. I was Recon at that time, but GSOL and Recon worked together to put the autosphere of bubbles. And if anybody can find a picture of that, I guess it's not going to be easy to link anywhere. But we bubbled the T5ZI gate and the E-Tech V gate, I think, in 5-Tech C with a couple hundred bubbles in a perfect sphere. And they all need to be re-anchored every 2 days or else they expire and disappear. And it was not at all fun. Yes, Lycon, I'm with you. It was horrible to do, but they were absolutely perfectly symmetrical and beautiful. I was very proud. I am very proud. And I might have to try to find a picture of that while we go here and put it up on the site that people can actually access if we don't have interesting questions.
I'll say, once you do that, I've got a general question there that I can answer for it. So Puppy's asking, how much longer is left on the war bonds to pay off? Depends on which bond you've got. If you have one of I'm going to take your answer or your question literally there and saying war bonds. The 2 war bonds to it, um, the Gamma and Sigma bonds, you can cash those in today, right now. If you have the peace bonds that we redid, which are the Theta bonds, that one's a future plans. We have a time frame, but we're not going to tell everybody what it is. But there is a plan for that. But if you have the original war bonds, so the Gamma and Sigma bonds that we first did during the war itself, if you still got some of those, reach out to a finance director on Jabber, and we can hand you your ISKIs today. Kaz has a pile of money sitting there to pay those today. If you have the peace bonds, which are the Theta bonds, that we refinanced. We lowered the interest rate on them. Those ones we are not paying back. We're still doing interest on those, so those bonds are still good. We're still absolutely paying interest on those. We are not paying interest on the original war bonds, but they're still good. So if you've got Gamma or Sigma, poke a finance director, and they will get you your ISK. Okay, right. So that's a long question. I'm going to read it there. So, knowing how quickly Horde bridges out of space, would you have come this way to focus on them, or would you weigh up another enemy, chase for content, if you could call it? Comment on why CJ is such a good thing. So the system range for CJ is not for PvP. It's for Beehive and for making money. So doing ratting and beacons and moon mining and doing all that kind of stuff. That's the piece that made CJ so great. The fact that it is so close to our enemy, right? Just our jump bridge, just a couple of stargates, and you can be in enemy space. Um, that was one of the reasons why we selected where it is. But the tantrum radius that Delta's talking about, that's for mining and ratting and defending things, having so many systems so close to us. That's for a defense thing because we cannot drop a Titan or Bridger fleet into enemy space from CJ. You, you just can't do that. The Rangers don't allow you to do that.
Yeah, and I should clarify. Yes, we're not moving from here. That doesn't mean we're not going to go punch people in the face. We are definitely going to go punch people in the face. That's why we're here.
I like it too. Also, harassing NC dot renters in space is easy from here, just as a hobby. Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, they're not in our tantrum radius, or we would kill them, but they're not that far away either. Okay, I'm going to put just a line in there because I think we've got everybody's question. So if we've missed your question, please retype it underneath the line I'm about to put in there.
Hyperion asks if there's any other options people can do besides GSOL for doing logistical tasks. Sky Mules is a much lower bar for recruiting. I know you know that, but I'm saying this more for the recording and for others to be aware. Sky Mules are they're the ones who handle collecting all of the reagents from the skyhooks that produce reagents, which is the ones on lava and ice planets. So it is a massive logistical challenge. How's that? I was going to say nightmare, and I don't want to use nightmare,
dude,
but
man.
yeah,
It's not a challenge. It's
anyway,
a freaking nightmare.
but
I don't even have to manage it, and I know it's a nightmare.
It is a way of supporting the alliance, 100%, and good stuff.
All right, here's a really good question there for you specifically, Delta. So one question for Delta: knowing what you know now, would you take the job of GSOL director again?
Restated: are you a masochist? Answer: yes.
There you go.
Yes, as much of a crazy amount it has been some of my most fulfilling time of being able to lead GSOL during this time, and I very 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 much enjoy doing it. There are days that I want to throw things at autocrats or others, but for the most part,
okay.
it's okay. Well, maybe. No, not usually Ranger. Ranger's the one I go to fix the autocrats. But no, it's fine. Generally speaking, it is a lot of fun. Being involved in an org of this size and helping to drive an alliance of tens of thousands of people is it's very fulfilling, and it's a great thing. I tell a story of how I got involved in any level of leadership. Was I actually started as a skirmish commander, which
I did too, actually.
I was not a good skirmish commander, but I was a skirmish commander.
I was not
either. And there was a day that we were doing a larger fleet, and I asked to back seat because it was a new thing, and so I hopped up and got dragged up into command, and there were probably 10 of us in a command channel.
Looks like we're back.
I've lost my privileges again, so I can't enter the channel on my own.
Um, oh, that was a perfect timing. It's like there's 10 people in the command channels. Boom. No, there's not.
So,
okay, yeah. Pick up with Owen there. The
can I
last thing I
just
heard
pick it
you say
up?
was
I think I can
there's
pick it
10
up.
people in the command channel. So
Yeah, so I was one of 10 people in the command channel, and suddenly we needed another Jackdaw fleet, or Sveeple. It was one of the tier 3 destroyers. And they started asking, okay, one of you skirmish commanders, you're doing it. And I think one or two of the other ones just never would key up. So I went, this will be my first fleet. And Apple Pear, being a coord at the time, says, no problem, I'll help you. And that was my first fleet. We helped pause a timer and kept it going. But what I ended up learning is while um, leading fleets like that actually can be fun, and I do enjoy it to a degree. The knowledge that FCs have to keep on hand of how to handle an enemy at like quick glance. I will still every once in a while take out a little fleet of something like MOAs and just go fight to the death with whatever I find because it's MOAs. Who cares? You try to kill what you can and then whatever. But to actually be able to assess, take an F&I fleet or something and assess, oh, no problem, I can take so and so, and knowing that is there's a instant recall that FCs need to have, not instant recall, but a very quick recall of what ships to go against, and I found that that's not quite how my mind works. But I still have fun every once in a while with doing that. But yeah, that's where my involvement with Alliance Ops started. At that, I'm trying to remember if that was that. Okay, that was under Goons proper. I actually was also a skirmish commander under SMA, and so I dabbled once or twice. But that most recent one that got me into Goons level of stuff was back probably in 2017 or so.
Mhm. So my story is very similar to Delta's. I started as a skirmish commander, and I like torp bombers, siege bombers. That's what I enjoy doing with that. But I actually moved into. I did eventually join Recon where I met Delta, but I was actually more involved with um, the logi, right? So it's a funny thing when people say logistics. My question is always, what logistics are you talking about? Are you talking about fueling towers? And we still call it that, even though I mean pauses still exist. But most people when they say that they're fueling a tower, they're actually talking about a citadel. Um, or are you talking about on a fleet logistics, right? The um, scimitars, the bazies, right? The oneros, that kind of thing. Um, all the logistic ships themselves. So I moved into that and was actually a Logi pilot and a Logi anchor. And so I changed from being a skirmish commander into Logi. Rep Swarm didn't exist back then. This is pre-Rep Swarm days when we were doing all those kind of things. So then I got involved in SIG warfare, and I ended up being a Logi commander, Logi anchor, whatever you want to call them. They're called Logi anchors now. I was a Logi anchor in one of the combat SIGs for a very long time. It's actually how I met Asher, which is a whole disaster in itself. Is how I ended up as chief of staff. So, um, there's a question from Podrick there. Do you watch the AT, so the Alliance tournament?
I actually don't. Small gang PvP is something I'm impressed by, but I have not remembered to watch the Alliance tournaments.
So for myself, I don't either. I used to when I was a younger Eve guy. I used to watch them quite a bit, but it's one of those that I watch them when our teams are there. So when goons are there, I will watch. And if it's not, I don't care.
I mean, it is impressive. Don't get me wrong. I'm very impressed by how flexible some of those people can be in doing the small gang PvP and making their, everything from working up, the transversals so that they can't get hit by turrets and things like that. It's a level of PvP. I'm much better at throwing 100 bees at something and just watching them melt. That is what I'm particularly good at.
And this wasn't a question, but it was a statement from forever ago when we first started. It was talking about logistics of moving things, and somebody mentioned that they were in mini lab and were moving coercers and catalysts for like burn Jita and everything like that. Yeah, I'll say I've been in burn Jitas any number of times. I was on all of them. I went to every burn Jita or burn Amar once I joined Goons. The very original one that became burn Jita went through Hulkageddon first, but was the Ice Interdiction campaign. So I was on the receiving end. Some of you all bastards ganked me in high sec on that one. That was before I joined low sec. Okay, I always try and keep these to an hour or 90 minutes, right? Kind of a thing, so we don't take up too much of Delta times. We've been going for about an hour right now. So any other questions that you guys have? Oh yeah, this is a good question from my last Eve history one that I did with Altari and Sunra, and it was a good one. I'm going to ask it to you here, Delta. What's the biggest oh shit moment that turned out positive for you as GSOL, or I guess for anything? It was open to me, so we'll make it open to you. The biggest oh shit moment that turned out positive.
I'm thinking.
Fair
I've
enough.
had a couple that didn't turn out positive, so I have to rule those out.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
Oh man, it's an excellent question, but not an easy one to immediately come up with. I'll keep thinking as we go.
Yeah. I'll tell you the one that Altari and I did was when Gobbins unanchored the T5Z keep at the end of the war. That was the one that Gobbins and I did. We're just like, oh my god, you know.
Sure. I mean, just getting the word that every keep started unanchoring. Yeah, I mean that was definitely, but that's not a no shit moment. That's a jaw drop moment for sure. For me at the time, I didn't. I think others had some intel that might be occurring, but I totally didn't. So I was like, wait, they're actually leaving. And then I was told, because I was a GSOL subdirector at that time, I was told, go ahead, turn off all of the jammers in the 1DQ constellation. I'm like, are you sure? Like, yes, turn it off. We won the war. It's like, okay. So I guess that kind of counts, but because of course, having someone to have the roles to turn off a jammer when the jammers are, I'm not going to say the jammers are all that kept us alive, but they definitely kept the 1DQ constellation in the end. Like the fact that they couldn't fight over those jammers was a big deal. I feel like there's got to be some other. I mean, there are definitely like. Okay, here's a good one. When we left 1DQ, we started on anchoring keep stars ourselves, right? So we at one point, just to get, so one of the things that you'll do with unanchoring citadels is you will stagger the timers. So you'll start the timers, and then when nobody is in the system, you cancel and you restart the timer again. So even if someone was there, they don't have the ability to see that the little unanchoring ticker disappeared and reappeared. There were people actually using like cameras, screen recorders. So I'm told, I don't know this for a fact, but there were definitely cloaky eyes that then would get good timers on when unanchors were happening, and we assumed they were doing it by screenshot recordings. There are other ways to catch it at the moment it unanchors, but there's no other way that I'm aware of to actually catch the unanchor timer without having roles in the unanchoring corp. Anyway, all that to say, so we started unanchoring, I don't know, maybe 10 keep stars of our keep stars. on a given Saturday and on around the fireside time. And as that week progressed, I didn't stagger any of the timers, and we were told, hey, we're just gonna try and scoop them all at once. We're gonna scoop all of these keep stars all at once because we were absolutely sure that Horde and others were going to make us leaving Delve the worst experience of our lives, right? We expected to have dreads dropped on us at every single turn. And once again, they completely failed. They didn't do any of it. But anyway, we unanchored all these keep stars simultaneously, like within a minute of each other. And we scooped all of them. It should have been an oh shit moment, and it was an entirely like nothing burger of it all went perfectly well. It should never have happened, and yet it did, and it happened again. We moved to our current home, and I've unanchored uncontested just a couple of keep stars from Catch, Tenerifis, Impasse. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It was funny, that story that Delta just told you when he was sitting there. When he said we, he actually literally means the two of us. He and I were sitting in our channel. We had our director alts on, and we were both looking at a clock. We're like, okay, 3, 2, 1, and I started at the top of the list, or he started at the top of the list, and the other of us was at the bottom, and we just went up. We're like, on anchor, on anchor, anchor. That's why they were all so close together, because it was literally the two of us on anchoring everything.
Yep. Axel, if you haven't received word that you're rejected, you're not rejected yet. We haven't rejected anybody yet. We're still finishing sending out. So there's also the reality of counterintelligence checks, which just take time. So we're doing that one step at a time. Sorry, we will normally GSOL does not respond, but Toxie and I agreed when we were doing this particular push. There are other directors as well, but Toxie and I in particular were talking about it, that the not getting a word back, it can be very frustrating. So I know it's been 2 months since you applied probably, but you will get word back in the end. Kind of like the postal service, right? The mail might come late, but it'll get there. Maybe. Probably.
Maybe.
I shouldn't have used the postal service as an
Yeah, that's
example.
probably a bad example on that one. So any news when the keep star is going to be yellow again? That's up to Kaz. He's basically the one who colors the keep star.
I do it every once in a while, but I got banned again from doing it. So I just do it when no one's looking.
There you go.
I was which one did I do? The problem was that the sun is so. If you've ever done the Skinner thing for structures, the sun in the preview window is behind the structure, but in the system, like if in CJ, the sun is in front of the structure and to the left. So the sun lights the structure up differently than it does in the preview. And I think it was X2 or the other one. One of the other ones along our move to CJ. One of those that I colored it, and it was painful on the eyes. I did kind of, and I got yelled at for that.
Maybe EIH or UM then.
Yeah, and N3 or X2. Yeah, one of those.
Oh yeah, it could have been N3. Sure. Okay, we'll do another thing for any questions for Delta there. I think we're caught up with everything on in fleet there. So any other questions, or we'll let Delta get out of here and enjoy the rest of his Sunday.
That Fort design that replaced the Keep in T5ZI, the Tower of Legends, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Sawman,
that's a good one.
A very, very good question. And you know how I do it? I balance it by delegation. And that's one of the things that you have to learn to do to be in a leadership position. And that's a real life skill, right? So the the reality is I'm not that great of a CEO. If you're looking for the CEO who is going to really like constantly be running all of the things. But what I've done is I've tried to bring myself around directors who are have the focus to focus on corp ops and corp stuff. I have a particular director now who's really helped breathe a lot of life back into that, and you then get your recruiters working, and you get others working for you. So the answer is you can't actually do both perfectly well. And so you have to find others that you can empower to make decisions, and they might even screw up, or they might even make a decision you disagree with. But it'll end up, of course, I always have um, override veto power. But I try to let people really take it as far as they can to do that, because I do spend a lot of my focus on the alliance needs, and that's it's just a reality. Because as much as you need to spread out authority and such, there are also roles, literal in-game roles that you simply can't just give out to too many people, or you end up with a I don't know, should I even say the name?
Yeah, you can. We did last time.
All right, you end up with the J Amazingness who decides to, and thankfully, he only had certain roles. He could have done worse if he had had more. So, unfortunately, it means that only so many people can have roles, and so there are some things that people like Ranger and I are stuck doing, because we just it's you don't need 100 people to do it, but sometimes it does need to be run. And oh, by the way, Ranger, we're gonna have some fun with some solve things here in a little bit.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be stepping away for family time. Yeah, it's something. As Delta's saying there, like when you get to the level that he and I are, like I don't run a corp. I don't, and I say this every time, and nobody believes me. Like if you look at my alt in Karma Fleet, which is my parent corporation, I have no roles in Karma Fleet. None. Zero. Absolutely zero. I don't do anything with Karma Fleet itself. Everything that I do is all with the Alliance. And it really comes from the fact that my first corp in Goons, at that point in time, those guys didn't do anything as a corp. This is when I was in WeDot. They didn't do anything as a corp. So if you wanted something to do, you were in an Alliance SIG. And so I ended up being in all the Alliance SIGs, and that's how I did it. So, I have all those kind of pieces. Uh, but managing burnout is an important thing. Delta's not the only Alliance director who is also a CEO. We have a number of them who
Yeah,
are.
we actually have quite a few.
There's I can think of like 5 right off the top of my head, and I think there's like twice that many. Uh, we've got a good number of them who are.
And all of them have leadership around them that help their corps to continue to thrive.
Yeah, they have to, right? Or your corp will simply die, or you neglect your alliance roles, and then I fire you. That's gonna happen. Uh, but so you've got an interesting statement there. I wanted to read it for everybody. It says, "The more I learn about this alliance, my mind is blown on how many layer upon layers there are to this alliance. It's fascinating. As I have moved up, and I'll kind of throw this to Delta as well. As I've moved up in rank within our organizational structure, I have found more and more things that I never knew were there. It's like every time I've gotten promoted to the next level, I'm like, oh, there's a whole other thing over here that I never like. I saw the results of it. It's like, oh, they're the ones who do this. Like GSOL is a very front-facing org. Like you guys all know who GSOL is, um, or know what they do and everything like that. But as I've moved into different parts of our org, um, I got a chance actually to be involved in CD's last recruitment round. They invited me to sit in on their internal channels, and I got to mistreat some of the new CD uh, recruits um, with the other CD directors. They invited me to sit in on that, and like I had heard this process existed, but I got a chance to see it from the inside. It was very cool. That That shit is crazy.
Yeah, I'll
We
second that.
mistreated those recruits so bad.
CD is Corps
But
Diplomatique.
oh yeah,
It's our Diplos.
corpse corpse diplomatique. Yeah, thanks. Um, and yeah, as Darwin said, it's pretty brutal at times. Yeah, it can be. Um, I sat down and designed a scenario with the other directors, the other CD directors. I pitched it to them, and then we tweaked it and to make it as annoying and awful as we could, yet still a thing that they would encounter. Um, so the scenario I
Yeah.
gave them is something based on, could you actually see this? Is like, well, no, not really, but you could see the core of why it would happen. You know, it's like this exact scenario. No, it's not going to happen like that. Um, and I got to role play different people. It was actually kind of fun. I was role playing like 3 different characters in this scenario. I actually got a kick out of it.
I
Project
can only
this.
imagine you in that. That would drive me nuts.
Um,
You're too good at it.
so I will tell you guys before I get to Podrick's question slash statement there. Um, back in the day when I was going through, and I don't do it anymore because too many of my alts are known, but I would actually sit in Little Bees in game. The Little Bees in game help channel. I used to do this when I was chair of classes, and I would actually answer questions that I asked myself, but I would use a different alt to do it, just so that people would have an answer to a question that I knew people had. And I used to actually talk to myself in the Little Bees channel.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
I don't do that as much anymore.
It does explain a lot.
But yeah, I used to do that quite a bit. So Potter, this alliance almost feels like it's run as if it were a small country. Yeah, we've said that for many years. Asher has said that. Mittens used to say this all the time. That I mean, Goonswarm is the size not of a country, but of a mid-level company. I mean, if you think about how many people we actually have in GSF, it's on the order of about 10,000 people. It's hard to say exactly because people have multiple alts and all things like that. But if we did the Horn of Gondor again, like we did during Vietnam, it's about 10,000 people that you would do with that. When you include the entire Imperium, it's even more. So is management actually a group of people, or is it all Ranger talking to himself through different accounts and voice changes? I like that.
I'd like to see Ranger get as mad as at himself as I've seen him get mad at other people. So that would now people can get mad at themselves. So I guess like
Yeah, it's something. That's a good one. So I've never used a voice changer. I don't care enough to do that. I learned many years ago through means that are not important to alter my typing style to make it appear as though I was somebody else. Um, but yeah, voice changer is too much trouble.
But yeah, it is the other thing that I learned at one point. I'll just throw a little factoid out there that I thought was funny. When my corp left Volition Cult and we were voting about where we were going to go, going to Goon Swarm proper. I'm not going to say it wasn't my first. How do I say it? It's not like I had a better place to go, but the reputation that Goon Swarm has had over the decades is very interesting, right? It's there, people. I mean,
Yeah,
even
that's
just
one way
the
to put it.
name, right? Goon Swarm, right? It just you assume it's a bunch of people with bats who are going to break your legs. And back in Fountain times, I think we goons were a bunch of goons with bats, and the bats were like battle cruisers, and they were surprisingly overwhelming people unexpectedly back in the mid 2005, 2008, and it was unexpected and crazy. But the once you start to get in on the inside, oh sure, we have our crazy people here, 100%. But when you ask about kind of who's the good guys and who's the bad guys, yeah, yeah. Click at Lycon and or no, is it like yeah? Click at Lycon and hit its employment history and look at Volition Cult. So, He is the alliance now. But anyway, there's a persona that people have, and they assume that goons are the bad guys at times, right? We are the aggressors. We are terrible to little groups. Blah 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 blah. Nothing can be further from the truth. It's hilarious, and the little groups will tell you this. When we moved into these areas, we gave people opportunities to get bought out, or to join, or to shift in certain ways that that other alliances would hold a gun to their head and say, pay us lots and lots of money and we might let you live there. Oh, and if a hostile org invades, we'll try to find a little pocket to put you in. You guys can guess who I'm talking about, since we don't rent and they do. But it's the leadership that we have is actually, I mean, we're still out to destroy our enemies, right? We're not going to apologize for blowing up, other things and such. That's part of the game. It's the great part, but we don't hate ourselves. And honestly, I'm not so sure that's true about some of the other alliances out there. Like they actually dislike their line members, and that's sad to see. And I know that is not the case with us here. Not, don't get me wrong. Some of y'all can drive us nuts, but that's on an individual basis. Um, and uh, and we try to we try to treat everyone with some appropriate level of dignity and respect. It's still a game, and we're still trying to have a lot of fun. But yeah, so I don't know. It's funny how my view of goons has changed over the years, being a part of it, and now I'm in the upper leadership of it. One of my corp mates was telling me, "Uh oh, you're going to be doing a meeting with Ranger. You're going to get a promotion." It's like, dude, I can't get promoted anymore. It's like, oh, that's fair. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I've topped
you'd
out.
have to take my job to do it.
Nope, that's not a promotion in my opinion.
um, this is fair enough. There's a couple of things from Dominar and Podrick. There is like when you it, so Dominar, thank you. Like Dalton and I appreciate the kind of the faith that you guys have in us of actually doing things. We do always try to get in respond to people. The forums is a great one to do it because it doesn't disappear on me if I reset my computer. I got to update or something like that. Uh, Discord's always a classic one. I keep all of my DM stuff open because you never can tell when somebody's gonna message me on Discord. I have that happen quite a bit. Um, from Podrick, a rhetorical, or I shouldn't say rhetorical, a theoretical question here. If Horde collapses tomorrow, what would happen to their space? We've no intention of occupying the drones. We don't want the drones. Fuck the drones. We would leave it open as not like a lawless land, but it's almost certainly what would happen to it. Is we would just sit there and go, all right, whatever. Horde's not in it. It would be an area like what we did with, as the Vault just said, what we did with Delve of like, cool, here's 4 regions, 5 regions. Have you defined the drones like that? There's it's not a set thing of some people add this region and some people don't. Uh, but an area for new groups to move into to do all those kind of pieces. Um, I don't believe that Frat has any designs on occupying the drones. They don't want to live there, as far as I know. They would stay where they are, basically on the other side of the drones from where we are. So you'd end up with a whole area where you could get a whole bunch of small alliances, and that's something that's radically changed from when Delta and I both started Eve. The It's sometimes called the balkanization of nullsec is absolutely a thing. When we first started, my first nullsec alliance had less than 1,000 people in it. It's a little alliance called Strange Brew. Coincidentally, we actually lived in the drone lands. My first nullsec home was in Owasso, was in the region of Owasso, in the northern part of drones. But yeah, that's actually how I met the Vault. He was there too. He was actually in that group way, way back with me. He and I go back now. That was oh Jesus, Vault. That was 14 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that. Um, and it's just the idea of having open space for groups to get into, to to do all of this stuff, to get a chance to do it without one of the blocks just crushing them. Um, Does that mean that we wouldn't roam into their space and shoot them? Oh, we absolutely would. And we would expect them to send things into our space and shoot us. Um, but are we going to move in there and occupy that space? None of the command team wants to live in drones. Um, let's just tell you that right now, just flat out, full stop. Fuck the drones, man. It's not a fun area to live in. The ranges are terrible, all those kind of things. Back when it had the old mineral poop for it, for those of you who remember that, sure. I lived there when it had that. It was fine. Oh, we're gonna lose Mumble again.
Ah.
So I've got to turn on the recording after I paused it. So that's the kind of piece of looking through it. Do we want to move? We're not. No, we're not going to live there. We'll leave that open for other people. We have schemes and future plans for what we would like to see happen. But as Delta said at one point during our talk today, CCP is the one who can really make that final choice. Like if they horribly alter something that makes our space unlivable, well, then we can't stay here. But we don't expect that to happen, right? We don't see that coming with it. And if it was to happen, what we would do is we'd sit down and say, okay, where's the best place to go?
Yeah.
I have no idea where that would be. I have no clue. It's really difficult to try and predict that when it's like, okay, well, if this happens and then this and this and this, right? You add
Yeah.
enough qualifiers to it, and
Yeah, enough people in Eve have anxiety problems to not have to throw in actually enough people in the world. We cannot spend our time what ifs. Don't get me wrong, we have backup plans
we
in
do it
some
anyway,
degree,
sort of.
but we do not spend our emotional energy. I don't spend my emotional energy. I put my all in all into where we are right now. How far can we go? What can we do? And just to do it to make because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Let's have fun today. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Let's have a lot of fun. And I think that's another of the things that just makes Eve such a different game is the interaction. The fact that we've got 30 people or so chatting on this right now, just chatting, just hanging out, just hearing some history, doing story times, and then we'll get 1,000 people into a fleet to go on a tie-dye fest that most people would be like, "You wait, you spent 10 hours playing the game and you blew up 3 things. Did you actually do that?" And the answer is yes, and it was amazing. We had to go over comms and tell everyone, don't forget to drink water, get up, do a lap around your house, sit back down again. And those things have happened, and it is it's such a different game. And so I don't just say so fun, but a fight like M2 XFE does not happen all the time, and yet we've had the chance to endure. Some of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's when we blew up, and then the server crapped so much that some of them reappeared again. But we blew up a few hundred enemy titans.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, the thing where Delta was just saying that we were sending pings out to get up and send around. One of our previous directors before he retired, Rat Knight, used to do that all the time. We used to have a tie-dye fight, and he would send a ping out about once an hour. Stand up, stretch, do something. Don't don't just sit in your chair for 40 hours.
And
Patrick,
even
and I
little
love
ruse.
that. Yeah, I made a sandwich and vacuumed the carpet while my missile was reloading. I know you're doing a little satire there, but it's pretty damn close.
It might be accurate. I believe it.
Yeah, I'm not Not sure I believe you on both of those. Like sandwich and then emptied your launcher while you were vacuuming the carpet. I can see that. Um, but I want to come back to Salman there. You were mentioning how like we do all of our communication stuff. Yeah, we do our best with it. The fireside that Asher does every week is something that began by Mittens. The Matani started that so many years ago, and we did it effectively every Saturday for. We've been doing firesides now every Saturday for over 10 years. Um,
Hmm.
and the whole point was to do just like this, to have a place for us to talk to you guys and for you guys to talk to us. Um, granted, you guys aren't talking to us on comms, but you're doing the same thing, right? You're just typing in Jabber and Elysium instead of in the fleet, but it's the same kind of an idea. Uh, we do, big announcements on it. Sometimes they get delayed because of a fleet. Sure, sure, that happens. I can't tell you how many of these classes I did when I was an instructor in university before I became chair of classes. That it's like, nope, fleet's out, class is delayed. Yeah, it happens. Or you're in a class and it's like, oh, big fight's kicking off. We gotta we gotta shut your class down. That happens. All right, guys, we'll do one last question request for questions, and then we'll call it a day so that Delta can go and have dinner because he's on the East Coast, so it's getting a little towards dinner time for him.
I got pizza to reheat.
Uh, Dragon, it is, but since you asked that question, it's not. You can't see that.
No, they've just had quite a few restarts when I was on Lama's flight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, we've gone through
This was
five, four.
Yeah, this was like a server migration, so moving things from one server to another can cause all kinds of problems. So that's some of what was going on.
Well, with any luck, we'll get some more fleets out and I can kill some more because my bloodlust has not been sated yet today.
Yeah, so man, have a good rest of your day, man. And I will post this recording on YouTube like I do all of them. I've been trying to hit pause as Mumble's gone down, so hopefully it's not too bad with those. There should be like a 10-second, dead era as I do each of those. Okay, I think we'll call it good then. So, well, thank Delta for coming out and spending some time to talk about GSOL and do story time with me, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I've got all of the old videos linked in um, the university channel, right? So on the forums and university, I have links for each of the individual videos. Uh, so if you want to go and see one where I've been doing these with some of the other people, again, I did one with Zintage. We were talking about fitting on there. I did one with Shingley talking about CD, and I did one with Casimir where we were talking about finance, just like we did with Delta 9. It's just basically just those guys, along with about a 10 or so more of just, general history stuff. Uh, so you guys go enjoy your Sunday. Have a good rest of your day and your week, all those kind of fun stuff, and we'll catch you all later.
We're still being asked to work towards more super capitals.
That's a not unreasonable question there, Dragon. I'll answer that one before we call it a day. So, I mean, the answer is always yes. With the prices of them, you can see the struggle. So super carriers themselves, it would be my answer of yes to that. Don't get me wrong. If you want to get a Titan, I mean, get a Titan. Uh, but they're so expensive that they've been kind of priced out of a lot of people's range.
They've
So
come
for
down a bit.
yeah, they've come down like 10% there, Delta.
The hold is still 250 billion is to actually build with all the minerals and everything else. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they're crazy. Just crazy, crazy. Zulu, you want to tighten in a mini love raffle? All right, I hate you.
But I built mine back when they were about 50 bill a piece. and a
Yeah,
Vendetta.
yeah, they actually got to be sub 40 during the height of
Yeah,
the Delve time unit back
I
in
built
2017.
I built my avatar. I think it was 35, 40 bill of, but it was free because I mined it myself. But I actually did mine it myself and just cost time. It's crazy that you could do that back then. Not anymore. Not so easy.
Yeah. Oh, so you got a rag? Yeah, that's my first Titan as well.
I think at the minute the hardest mineral to find is pyrite.
Yeah, fuck pyrite, man. But we won't go into that because I've got a whole hate boner for pyrite for building battleships. So, all right, guys, we'll call it good there. Again, thank y'all for coming out. Have a good day. Locust again in 4 weeks, right? You know that's a GSOL thing where they're setting all the Athenors up. Um, we smashed the entire Locust operation this time, and I think it was 10 hours or some ridiculous thing like that. We were stunned. We're like, oh god. So Asher mentioned this on the fireside yesterday. We're like, we'll try and do a better job of that. It was nuts. So, all right, cheerio, guys. Have a good rest of your weekend and a good week. All that fun stuff. We'll see y'all later.
Adios.